Welcome. Welcome. It is the very special 250th episode of Live Irish Myths. 2.5 centuries. Not in years, of course. You're all very welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. I'm Anthony Murphy. For the next hour or so, we will be immersing ourselves in ancient Irish mythology, but actually, particularly the Brehon Laws. Yes, indeed. A subject we've touched on before, but we are, of course, reading from A Social History of Ancient Ireland by P.W. Joyce. And we're about to start the section on the Brehon Laws, or the chapter on the Brehon Laws, as it were. Hope you can maintain an interest. We've had a great time. This is the 12th reading from that book. So wonderful to see you all sticking around for it. You clearly have been enjoying, as I have. I've learned so much from the past dozen episodes or 11 episodes. It's great. And it's wonderful to see you all coming back. So a quick hello to everybody. A lot of people saying hello. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter, of course, the first one to say hello, giving us the temperature report, 25 Celsius in Texas. And our highest temperature today was less than half of that. I think our highest temperature today was 12. Plenty of showers and rainbows on the way home from Clonakilty. I was in Clonakilty this morning, having been there yesterday. I'll tell you more about that when we've said hello to everyone. But took a quick trip down to Inchydonny Strand today, and lovely down there in the morning before coming home. I'd never seen it. Beautiful part of the world, and a beautiful day because it was bright, although there was plenty of showers on the way home. Very bright rainbow, actually. Really, really extraordinary. I know I shared a picture of the rainbow that we saw yesterday morning on the way down, but there was a much, much more vibrant rainbow on the way back. Anyway, maybe later. Rex Fortenberry is in the house. Howdy and greetings. A great Samhain blessing to Anthony, all the mighty tour from the swamp. Yes, and don't forget that there's been a lot of stuff online about Samhain in the past week. Michael Fortune of folklore.ie is a very good man to follow in terms of information from modern folklore. In other words, he's been recording folklore from people in his part of the world, which is in the southeast of Ireland, for the past quarter of a century. And he thinks that there's a lot of rubbish being spouted on the internet around the celebration of Samhain and, how Halloween was invented in Ireland and all that stuff. There are many different viewpoints. Very interesting post about the origins of Samhain today on the Monumental Ireland page. Simon Chute doing his usual excellent job there. But I always celebrate Samhain on what I consider to be the old date, which would be the cross-quarter date. And we don't know, is the truth. We don't know whether the people who built the Stone Age monuments of Ireland, some of which are apparently aligned on Samhain sunrises, such as Cairn at Loughcrew and Duan O'Neill mounted the hostages at Tara. We don't, just because they're aligned towards sunrises at that time of the year doesn't mean they celebrated something that we now call Samhain. So you have to be careful with all this stuff as usual. But anyway, happy Samhain, because tomorrow, of course, if you've been checking your Mythical Ireland calendar, you'll know that tomorrow is the official date of Samhain. Tomorrow is the halfway point in days between the fall equinox or the autumn equinox and winter solstice. Happy Samhain to everybody. Sandra Boothroyd, evening all. Hope you're doing well, and in for an interesting night I am. Yes, indeed. I hope so, Sandra. And get yourself comfortable. Make yourself a cup of tea or a dram or something. Make yourself at home, as it were. Michael Pike is saying, yeah, live from Drogheda, where I just happen to be. Michael Pike is in Drogheda. Ta-da! And yeah, Michael and I will be getting together next week. And yeah, talking monuments and myths and all that stuff. Michael, brilliant. Welcome to the Boyne Valley. Welcome to the city of Drogheda. And I hope you're having a good time so far. I hope you got to see the lights. Excuse me. Apologies. I hope you got to see Lou Festival of Light. I'm not sure if Saturday was your first day in Drogheda. That was the last day of the festival. Fantastic crowds this year. Simply mind-blowing. Mind-blowing is a bit of a cliche these days, isn't it? It was fantastic to see all the families, especially. Huge crowds this year compared to last year, even though last year's crowds got bigger and bigger as the event went on. This year they were big from the get-go, Barbara Murphy is saying hi to Elaine Dentlingenfelter. Oh, will you say hi to Elaine Dentlingenfelter and just ignore the rest of us then? No, she's saying hello to everybody. In warm, sunny Tucson. No, so between yourself and Elaine, Barbara, what I want you to do is shave off a few degrees from your temperature and pass them over to us, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks very much. Although some people might say that's climate change. Let's not influence it anymore. Adrian O'Beglin is in the house. Good evening, Adrian. Hope you're keeping well and in good form and ready for story time. Lily Shambles. Yes, I was first to click like on YouTube. Hopefully, many more will follow. Do it. Thank you, Lily. Like the video, share, ring the notification, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for that, Lily. Wayne Bird is in the house. Wayne continues to enjoy the companion volume to Return to Segish, the draft of which is complete, but which I'm sharing 2 pages at a time with Mythical Ireland patrons. And of course, the address for that is scrolling along the bottom of the screen as I speak, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. So if you're a Bronze Age patron of Mythical Ireland, you will be getting first glance at this new book, which hopefully will be, I'm not sure. I'm not going to put myself under pressure. It will not be published before Christmas unless a miracle happens. But I believe in miracles. Who knows? But maybe in the early months of next year. And Lily is saying a good evening from a very miserable, in more ways than one, England. Is it raining? Is it? Evania Lee is saying hi from New Zealand. Well, good morning to you, Evania. I don't know what time it is there. It's probably very early in the morning. Fantastic to welcome you from the Eastern and Southern Hemisphere, if you wish. The opposite side of the world. Brilliant stuff. Happy Tuesday from all of us who are still in Monday. Auntie Joe Butler is in Colorado. Lovely warm day, 21 Celsius. Now you can spare a couple of degrees too. So if you all shave off 2 Celsius, the 3 of you, Barbara and Elaine and Joe, we'll get an extra 6 and we'll be a nice toasty 14 tonight instead of 8. Snow is predicted for Wednesday. Well, you can keep that. Don't send any of that this way. Thank you. Snow will feel more normal. How is the Mighty Tua? I think the Mighty Tua are good. I think they're good. They're good. I'm speaking on their behalf, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm reading the mood, and I think it's good. Rex Fortenberry is saying howdy from Louisiana. Good afternoon, Rex. Welcome. Fair to Midland. Well, it's actually fair to Midland is the middling, as in middle of the road, as in neither brilliant nor poor. You know, how are you? Midland. Fair to Midland, you know. I think that's what you're saying. Caitlin, if it's not, please forgive me. Caitlin Moon is in Dublin. Ballyaclia, Dublin, the Blackpool. Pretty chilly here. Had to get my big coat out today. Yeah, it was nippy, wasn't it? You know, but it was bright. Can't have everything, eh? And weather forecasts being swapped, as it were, meaning to pushed aside. Fact for the day. I just learned that just now. As it were, meaning to pushed aside. Not sure what they. I'm not just following Evania, so please forgive me. That's just because my brain is still in Cork mode. Anthony insults all the Corkonians in one fell swoop. Catherine, what's that name? Cleary is in San Diego. Good afternoon, Catherine. Just shortly after midday there in California. Hope the weather is good there. If it's really hot or warm, you can send us a couple of degrees. That'd be great. Michael Trott is saying, hello all the two. I hope you and yours are well enough, happy enough and well even. Blessings and gratitude. Tuning in from New Zealand. A fine spring day in the north. Great Aurora Borealis or Northern Lights photos. I thought I'd missed this 250th episode this Tuesday morning here. Well, Michael, you're actually the second viewer from New Zealand this morning. Evania, who's also watching from New Zealand. So you're very welcome as always. And so, yeah, but doesn't the aurora affect both poles at the same time? But it just depends on whether it's daylight or nighttime. Wherever you are, you can't see them during the day, obviously. Aurora Australis, Southern Lights. Not a lot of people know that, because a lot of people are only familiar with Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. But not a lot of people know that, in fact, there is Aurora Australis, which is the same thing, except in the south. Sound like someone from Del Boy, from Only Fools and Horses there. Tom King is in the house, on Goa. Hope all in good fettle. 250th episode. Wow, a super milestone. Well done, Anthony. Many congratulations. Well, thank you, Tom. And thanks for being there for almost all of them. You know? Brilliant. And lots of conversation going on, which is always brilliant to see. So long as you're paying attention when the reading starts, I don't care what you say to each other. I'm joking, of course. Anne McCallum is here. Hello, Anton, and all the mighty two. I hope everyone's doing well. Having a lovely sunny 17 says you could easily spare a degree or two. Much better than the freezing cold and snowy Monday we had last week. Looking forward to story time. So it's kind of up and down, really, at this time of year. And wow. So it doesn't just go plummet straight down into the freezing, you know. It kind of goes down and comes back up and down and up, and then 6 months of cold. Miriam Nitira is in the house. Jiguch, Anthony Antua, windy in Oregon. I'm going to practice sword in this blustery. Was it something I said? I'm not sure what you mean by practicing sword. I hope it's sort of a ceremonial thing and not sort of an injurious affair. Jackie Kelly has tuned in. Hello, Jackie. Welcome. And Jackie's watching on YouTube. Sotanar also watching on YouTube. Trononoa Nadrev Conas Atomage. Nadrev. Is that the tribe, is it? Can't speak for the rest of them. I think they're okay. I'm in good form. I was in Clonakilty over the weekend. Had a lovely time there with Moncon. I will speak about that momentarily. Barbara, I would very happily give you more than a few degrees and take as much rain as you can. Oh, brilliant. We could do a contra deal. You send us a few degrees Celsius. We send you a few rain clouds. Brilliant stuff. How do we organise that? Is there someone we should speak to in the government or something? Thank you, Joe. Thanks for the likes and for subscribing on YouTube. Don't forget to like the Mythical Ireland page. Thanks, indeed, indeed. Brendan Byrne is here. A night for the fireside and a stiff dram. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely right. Caitlin is holding on to all her degrees. Thanks. Yes. And is it your doctorate or your master's or your... What was it you're going for? Is your doctorate, was it? Something big, anyway. I know that much. Burr Whelan is in house. Hi, Burr. Welcome to Live Irish Myths. Always a pleasure to see you. Ali, I really don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that, but I always say Gisel, but I'm not sure. Ali is in Tucson and finds it a treat to tune in. Well, we find it a treat to have you here. And don't mind me with my pronunciations of names. I've been known to butcher pronunciations left, right, and centre. Marianne Kinja is also here. Marianne, always a pleasure to welcome you. Marcia Downs, chuckling over your wanting it warmer than 8 Celsius. It was 26 Fahrenheit this morning, or -3 Celsius. Something in the 40s would be wonderful here. I'm smiling. Yeah. So while they're shaving degrees off, Elaine and Joe and Barbara, and who else was there? Anne McCallum. While they can shave off a few, they could maybe drop a few in your direction as well as ours. Yeah. Who else? I'm learning sword fighting, says Miriam. Ooh, sounds dangerous. I hope the sword is relatively blunt and not too sharp that you'd hurt yourself. Kyle M. Much love for the myths and... Oh, no, that's Anthony. Anthony, I'll say hello to Anthony in a second. Kyle M. is saying much love for the myths and history from New York. Oh, well, Kyle, I'm not sure if we've seen you before, but you're very welcome. And thank you. And I hope you enjoy it. Anthony Kelly. Will we see snow this year, Anthony? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that when we had bad snow in the spring of 2018, the one we called the Beast from the East, a few months later, I discovered a henge at Newgrange in after the driest spell of weather in ages. So perhaps if we saw snow, we might get another, I'm pushing it now, aren't I? I'm just being greedy. How could I possibly want another big discovery, Brendan is saying, Anthony asked why it's so cold at our cottage last week. The cottage sits on the side of a mountain facing north. Because of the low angle of the sun, we've no sunshine from November to March the 17th. Ooh. I've often pointed out a house to my wife or my kids or somebody I'm with and said, I would not live there. And they say, why? I said, because look at where it is. It's at the bottom of a hill and it's, the sun is that way instead of this way. Yeah, sometimes you kind of live in a bit of a hole and it can get a bit dark. And I think that can get depressing. seasonal adjustment disorder. You could call it snowhenge, says Caitlin. I did actually build a snow grange during the Beast from the East, which I shared pictures of during that. Was that March or April, February or March 2018? I'm pretty sure. Let me. I know, rabbit hole, but I think we're caught up with the comments, and I'm going to talk about the weekend, and then we'll get going. So bear with me 1 second, because I'm going to search for Snow Grange and share the link. It's only allowing me to save the post. It's not allowing me to share it. That's very annoying. Anyway. Right. I'll share a direct link to one of the photos on Facebook. There you go. Snow Grange. Yes, Snowhenge. A very short-lived monument, Snowhenge. It was there one day, and it was gone the next. It's my PhD, says Caitlin, my doctorate. Still recovering from the final few, so I can imagine. Take a break now and enjoy it. Especially enjoy it when you actually get it, which I'm sure you will, by the way. I've absolutely no doubts about that. So what was I going to say? So I have an apology to make. Yes. Sorry. Good evening. This is Anthony Murphy, and this is the 8 o'clock news. I hereby apologise to Desiree Riley and anyone else who may have been rightly confused by my statement that I would be taking part in a live podcast with Moncon McGann in Clonakilty. Full stop. I'm not actually reading it, it's a blank page. But so I said I was going to take part in a live podcast, and I forgot that might cause confusion because the Tua, who are used to watching Live Irish Myths and other live streams on Mythical Ireland, may have got the impression that the event was being live streamed, which it wasn't. The reason I called it a live podcast is because the conversation was being recorded in front of a live audience in Dabara's pub in Clonakilty. Dabara's pub and social club, it's a fabulous venue, by the way. Lovely old world pub and lovely staff, brilliantly run. So apparently a number of people were looking for the live stream and were disappointed to find that it wasn't live streamed. And I actually feel that I do actually have to apologize for that, because it was only afterwards, especially when Desiree said what she said, that I realized, yeah, I can see why they might be expecting a live stream, because I did say it was a live podcast. Now, I did also say, in my own defense, in the posts promoting it, I did also say that a video of the conversation would be made available to Mythical Ireland followers on the social media channels in the next few weeks. So what happened was that I was invited to host a Mythical Ireland podcast as part of the Samhain Festival in Clonakilty in Cork, which happened yesterday. Well, I mean, the festival was going on for several days. And my guest was Moncon McGann, author of 32 Words for Field, Listen to the Land Speak, and several other books, and a very well-known broadcaster and Irish speaker and proponent or ambassador for the Irish language. And it was packed. The venue was packed. And we had what I thought was a fantastic discussion about myth and landscape and spirituality and a lot of stuff. And I was told afterwards by several people that everybody was transfixed and you could hear a pin drop. People were so glued to what was being said. There were 3 cameras recording the event. 3 professional cameras, not 3 Mythical Ireland little webcams. These were like professional broadcast cameras. and there is going to be the whole thing will be available. As I say, just keep an eye on. I'm not sure when I will get the edit. That's all, because I'm not doing it. It's being done by the people who are doing the filming. So they said maybe a couple of weeks. It will take them a couple of weeks to put it together. They'll send it to me in draft form. I'll watch it and just make sure that there's nothing. I don't think we said anything anyway. It's not even that. It's just to make sure that it flows properly. And then, as I say, we'll release it. So I apologize. And Desira, you were absolutely right to point that out. I don't think she's actually on the stream here. But you were right to point that out, that because I called it a live podcast, the people following Mythical Ireland may have got the impression that it was being live streamed, which it wasn't. And that was never the intention, but it may not have been clear. But anyway, to make up for that, as I say, there will be a video. So if you weren't able to fly to Ireland and drive to Clonakilty to be there in the audience, you will be able to enjoy the whole conversation from beginning to end sooner rather than later, I hope. And as soon as I have word on that, of course, I will post about it on the Mythical Ireland page on Facebook. Stop talking, you. That's another Anthony. As if one wasn't bad enough. Oh my God, I hope he doesn't start telling jokes as well. Yeah, so as soon as I have word on it, I'll share it on the Mythical Ireland page, on the Mythical Ireland community, Mythical Ireland creatives, Instagram, Twitter, the usual. And I'd say the video itself will be on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. All the more reason for you to go over there right now and subscribe, because as soon as it's uploaded and public, you'll get a notification saying, ding, Mythical Ireland has uploaded a video. Irish technical thinker who is Marcus has joined us while I was waffling. Marcus, I hope you're in good form. Thanks for joining us. Debbie Sheehy, can't wait to watch it when you get the edit. Yeah, I know. I actually can't wait to watch it back. I hope when you're on the stage and, you know, this is something that may not be obvious from the interviews that I did on Zoom during the lockdowns, but the conversation series. It's very difficult to concentrate on what the guest is saying, to keep your own flow of thoughts as well, and to make it link up. So Moncon is wonderfully erudite and fluent. He says a lot, and there's a lot to unpack. I'm trying to remember that and to prompt the next question or the next comment or the next set of questions. So that's why I'm saying I hope none of it seems disjointed. I don't think it will. I think it flowed very nicely. And by the way, zero preparation for it. We decided beforehand I wasn't going to set a list of questions and give them to him. We were just going to let the conversation flow. And I think most people who were there really, really enjoyed it, if not everybody. Teresa Collins is here. Gia agus Bangia a give Golair atua Goramila Mahagot Teresa. Just making sure I didn't miss anyone. Mythology Monday is the best way to face the week. Thanks for the giggle, Thompson. Yeah. Yes, you can't beat a bit of mythology on a Monday to get you set up for the week. Was there during the Beast in the East and had to stay almost an extra week in Ireland. Yay. Now I know what happened. I know why we got the Beast in the East. Anne McCallum brought it with her from Ontario. You brought the Canadian weather with you, Anne. The full Irish Gary is here. Good evening, great and good to another fine day as it was actually, except for the showers. It's funny, we drove from Clonakilty. I suppose we probably left in Chidoney. It would have been maybe 11 o'clock this morning. And a lot of very heavy showers on the motorways up the M8. But eventually we got onto the M7 and the sky was getting brighter and there were fewer showers. And then by the time we got onto the M50 and the M1 and we're on the home straight, there was no showers at all. So it looked to have been more affecting the south than the east. Anyway, Moncon is one of the few citizens on this island that truly understands the nature of our tribe and our tribe's place in nature, says Gary. Oh, don't forget to get your calendars. Thanks for the reminder, Caitlin. If you haven't done so, don't forget that the 2024 Mythical Ireland calendar is now available to order on the Mythical Ireland website, and that's in the shop. But just in case you don't have the link, it's mythicalireland.com shop calendar. But I'll just give you the direct link there just in case you don't have it or just in case you need it. Thank you for the reminder, Caitlin. Best to get them as soon as you can. Beat the Christmas rush. Make sure you have them in time, in plenty of time. Thanks for that reminder, Caitlin. Thank you indeed. Right. John Inman is here. Another soft day in Eureka, California. Rain is always welcome nowadays. Brilliant stuff. John, glad you are getting the weather you want/need. Great stuff. We're starting chapter 6 of A Social History of Ancient Ireland by P.W. Joyce, published. This is volume 1, by the way, published 1903. 120 years ago. So this is the chapter called The Brehon Laws, but this is section 1, The Brehons. Are we all comfortable and ready for tonight's reading? It's 8:30. Look how quickly time flies. You know what I mean? Half an hour gone already. Okay, 5 minutes of that was the eclipse countdown timer. So 25 minutes welcoming people and me talking waffle. Lynn Foley, hello from an 84-degree 29 El Paso. Wow. Yeah, now, we were talking earlier about people and temperatures. You could certainly shave a few degrees off that and send them over the Atlantic to us, couldn't you? And now, if you need a bit of rain, we're happy to give you a bit of, we'll do a contra deal. You know, you give us a few degrees Celsius, we'll give you a few rain clouds. Anyone up for a bet on the timeline for the first rabbit hole excursion? You missed it, Brendan. You were obviously late. We've already been down a rabbit hole. I love it. Tom King says 4 minutes, Brendan. Oh, you mean from the start of the reading? Yes, of course. Right, well, I tell you what. You ready? I'll give you a countdown and start your timers, okay? Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Section 1, the Brehons. Law formed a most important factor in both in public and private life in ancient Ireland. The native legal system, as briefly outlined in this and the next 2 chapters, existed in its fullness before the 9th century. It was somewhat disturbed by the Danish and Anglo-Norman invasions, as pretty much everything in Ireland was, and still more by the English settlement. By the way, rabbit hole number 1. If you didn't see Lou Festival of Light and you weren't in Drogheda for that wonderful event, I have this evening uploaded the videos of all the displays, and the Viking arrival into the Boyne Valley was part of the largest sequence, which is the one at St. Peter's Church. Pardon me, I'm just going to share that so you can watch it later. Of course, they're on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. So if you're on YouTube, just search for them. If you're not already subscribed, Buchel Donna, Colleen Donna, you should be subscribed. But if you're not, just look for YouTube, Mythical Ireland on YouTube. And I'm just going to paste in the link to the St. Peter's Church sequence. And that has the bit about the Vikings who reply to a volley of arrow shots with a fiery arrow. Brohagget, some of you will get. Caitlin will get that reference. I'm not sure if anyone else will. The Brohagget, yes, a fiery arrow that causes things to go ablaze. Interesting. Let me not spoil it. Wow, was it that short? 34 seconds. Well, there you go. First rabbit hole, 34 seconds. We should start taking bets. We should keep a book on this, you know. And if you win, you know, you get the money. But if I win, I get the money. But that would be cheating, especially if you let people know. If you say, I bet you the first one's going to be 2 minutes and then I make it 5. Or I make it a half a minute, in this case, 34 seconds. But, sorry, it was somewhat disturbed by the Danish and Anglo-Norman invasions, third sentence, and we were in a rabbit hole. And still more by the English settlement. But it continued in use till finally abolished in the beginning of the 17th century. In these 3 chapters, I merely attempt to give a popular sketch of the Brehon Laws, devoid of technical legal terms. Yeah, and of course, it is a huge area. We did say early Irish law. Fergus Kelly is a great book. And previously, D.A. Binchy was a fabulous scholar on the Brehon Laws. But I mean, if you wanted to specialize in the Brehon Laws, you could spend decades of your life studying them. You really could, you know. Mariana Dunn is in the house. Good evening to you, Mariana, in sunny Virginia. Brilliant stuff. And Northman is here also. Hello, everyone. Didn't see you in Clonakilty, Northman. You obviously didn't make it, but that's okay. We'll get another opportunity, said you. I actually set a timer, says Caitlin. That's how you knew it was precisely 34 seconds. Yeah. Please click like and buy the calendar. Both are amazing. Thank you very much, Lily. In Ireland, pardon me, a judge was called a Brehon, B-R-E-H-O-N. Now, the Irish of that is Brehon, B-R-E-T-H-E-M. Modern Brehev, Breithemh. This takes an N in the genitive and dative. Brehman pronoun Brehon, from which comes the the Anglo-Irish Brehon. So the word Brehon in Brehon Laws is a sort of an Anglo-Irish. It's a kind of a hybrid, is it? Is that what you'd call it, between the two languages? But the original is Brehev, modern Brehev, pronounced Brehev, but spelled differently. Brehon in, I presume, Middle Irish. Doesn't specify. But its proper designation is sorry, I'll read the whole thing. In Ireland, thank you, Coda. Coda says, hello, everybody. Very disappointed that Desiree isn't here now, actually. First of all, to hear the apology. Secondly, because I know Amadeus would be getting very excited. Marcus, you're not wrong. The Normans were invited into Ireland, like inviting a vampire into your house for some hot chocolate, expecting him to leave again. Well, all you need to do is open the blinds in the morning. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff, Northman. That's fine. Again, whenever, our paths will cross, as they say. In Ireland, a judge was called a Brehon. Whence the native Irish law is commonly known as the Brehon Law, but its proper designation is féinechas, i.e., the law of the Féine, or free land tillers. And that's referring back to page 161 Supra, which we would have read in last week's episode. According to Cormac, remember we were talking about the 5 levels or stratums, 5 strata, 5 stratums, the 5 layers, the 5, what was it exactly called? The groups? Yes. No. Classes. Yeah. According to Cormac's glossary, Aigreer, Aigre, is another name for a Brehon. I didn't know that. Aigreer. The Brehons had absolutely in their hands the interpretation of the laws and the application of them to individual cases. They were therefore a very influential class of men. No women, apparently. And those attached to chiefs had free lands for their maintenance, which, like the profession itself, remained in the family for generations. Those not so attached lived simply on the fees of their profession, and many eminent Brehons became wealthy. Well, sorry for saying it, folks, but in Ireland, there's no such thing as a poor solicitor, The legal rules as set forth in the law books, what I'm saying is the origins of that go back centuries and centuries. The legal rules as set forth in the law books were commonly very complicated and mixed up with a variety of technical terms, and many forms had to be gone through and many circumstances taken into account, all legally essential, so that no outsider could hope to master their intricacies. Okay, I'm curious as to how do you define an outsider? An outsider to the legal profession? A migrant? A non-national? I presume it means somebody who's not in the profession, that it is a closed, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It's a closed, it's a click, or it's a closed book. No, not a closed book. Oh, here we go again. The brain's just not fetching the word that I need at this moment in time. Yeah. Somebody will pop it into the comments shortly. I know they will. The Brehon's fee, fola, Fola, was 1/12, i.e., presumably 1/12 of the property in dispute, or of the fine in case of an action for damages. Wow. He had to be very careful, for he was himself liable for damages, besides forfeiting his fee if he delivered a false or an unjust judgment. Every judge, says the Book of Achill, is punishable for his neglect. He is to pay Eric fine for his false judgment. There is no record how the Brehons acquired the exclusive right to interpret the laws and to arbitrate between litigants. It grew up gradually and came down as a custom from times beyond the reach of history. Wow. But of course, as I was saying over the weekend to Moncon and to others in wonderful conversations, by the way, down in Clonakilty for the Samhain Festival, that we were an oral society. I mean, the churchmen, the ecclesiastics were the ones who brought writing and who wanted us to write everything down. But I'm sure the Brehons and the bards didn't want to write anything down. Closed community? Yeah. Closed system? Closed circle? Yeah. Closed circle, I think, was what I was looking for. I think. John Main is in San Francisco. A rainy day in the Bay Area. I will not make a joke about you bringing it with you, John. Oh, wait, I just did. Sorry. John, it's great to see you, and good afternoon to you. As always, you're very, very welcome. Always a pleasure to welcome you into the fold, into this closed circle. No, this is a very open circle. Rabbit jokes lead to dad jokes, or is it the reverse? Speaking of which, I better line some up. The institution of the Brehons, the gradual increase of their authority, the legal processes in which they took part, and the forms of trial for deciding cases between man and man. Apparently women didn't take legal actions, were in all essential features much the same as those that grew up in the early stages of all the Aryan societies: Germanic, Anglo-Saxon, Danish, Indian, Hellenic, etc. Of course, again, just to reiterate, when he says Aryan, Joyce is referring to Indo-European linguistic culture, as opposed to Aryan, some supreme race, just in case anyone's confused about that. And strongly resembled the procedures followed in archaic Roman law. There you go. So they may have had as their inspiring structure or structural base the old Roman laws. Yes, and don't forget, in relation to the Aryans, this book, as I said at the outset, was published in 1903, long before a certain German leader took on or misused, shall we say, that term. To become a Brehon, a person had to go through a regular, well-defined course of study and training. Well, that goes without saying, doesn't it? I mean, because it seems to be comparatively complex. And nothing changes. It's exactly the same today. You want to become a lawyer? You have to study. It would appear that the same course qualified for any branch of the league. Oh, except for taxi drivers. Just in case, just particularly for the American and Canadian and New Zealand and British and people not residing in this country, or if you've never been, taxi drivers in Ireland know better than any judge and any politician. Okay, so the taxi driver tell you, I'll tell you what should have happened there, and they'll have full expertise way beyond the years of their non-training. It would appear that the same course qualified for any branch of the legal profession, and that once a man had mastered the course, he might set up as a Brehon or judge proper, a consulting lawyer, an advocate, or a law agent. Now, I can't immediately describe the difference between a Brehon or a judge, or a lawyer or a law agent. Law agent sounds like somebody who would actually sell the law. Would you like to buy some law? You know? Yes, I am being slightly facetious. Desiree is in the house. Desiree, when this episode is over, go back to the beginning of it and watch it from the beginning again, because I made an apology for my claim about the live podcast, because I know I confused people by saying it was live, but I just meant it was in front of a live audience, not that it was being live streamed. But how were you guys supposed to know that? Yes, Joe is reminding Desiree that I did formally apologize, and yes, and also Coda says hello, and Saskia is outside. Silver Miner. In what year did Brehon law become non-existent? I think he said here in the first page we read that it continued until it was finally abolished in the beginning of the 17th century, so the beginning of the 1600s, which would have been around the time of the flight of the Earls and the signing of the Treaty of Mellifont and all that stuff. Kathy Maydeo is in the house. Hello there, and welcome. And just making sure I didn't miss anyone. John Inman is saying to John Main, my old stomping ground, San Francisco. Catherine Woodruff is saying, hello all, hope everyone is snug and warm enjoying our shows. I certainly am. Well, our heating is on because it's cold here. There's Kathy May saying hello. Kathy May, you're very welcome to the stream as always. Similar to Homer's Odyssey, everything before him was oral and Homer wrote them down. Imagine having to learn off an epic like the Iliad or the Odyssey, you know, absolutely amazing. Besides this special study in technical law, a Brehon should qualify as a Shanachie or historian. Well, well, well. Just as in our day, professional students have to qualify in certain literary or scientific subjects not immediately connected with their special lines. In later ages, the legal profession tended to become hereditary in certain families, some of whom were attached to kings or chiefs, though all, or at least the high-class members of the profession, had to comply with the conditions as to time and study. Quote, no person, unquote, says the Seanachas Mór, quote, is qualified to plead a cause at the High Court unless he is skilled in every department of legal science, unquote. And the Seanachas Mór, which literally means, does not just mean the big lore. Seanachas, you know, that is the book that contains a lot of the written Brehon Laws. Glad it was a live audience. The alternative is a bit scary. Yeah. In very early times, the Brehon was regarded as a mysterious, half-inspired person, and a divine power kept watch over his pronouncements to punish him for unjust judgments. Quote, when the Brehons deviated from the truth of nature, there appeared blotches upon their cheeks, unquote. Wow. So they got acne or what's that? Can't remember now. When your skin comes out and blotchy. Anyway, never mind. Yeah, that's a bit dodgy, to be honest. Like, you got blotches on your cheeks. Could be caused by cold. Could be caused by a virus. Could be caused by certain type of contact with a certain type of person. You know, he would have knocked them dead, says Caitlin. Where the word shenanigans comes from, asks Marcus. I don't know, actually. Yes. The great Brehon, Moran, son of Carberry Kincat, king of Ireland in the 1st century, wore a sheen, S-I-N, or collar round his neck, which tightened when he delivered a false judgment and expanded again when he delivered the true one. If only we could get those sort of sheens or collars for I'm not, well, the legal profession, of course, but I'm thinking more for the politicians. Yeah. All this agrees with the whole, they would never loosen. They'd be always tightening until their head fell off, you know. All this agrees with the whole tenor of Irish literature, whether legendary, legal, or historical, which shows the great respect the Irish entertained for justice, pure and simple, according to law, and their horror of unjust decisions. It was the same at the most ancient period as it was in the beginning of the 17th century, when Sir John Davies, the Irish Attorney General of James I, testified, quote, for there is no nation of people under the sun that doth love equal and indifferent, i.e. impartial, justice better than the Irish, or will rest better satisfied with the execution thereof, of the law, not of the person, although it be against themselves, so as they may have the protection and benefit of the law, when upon just cause they do desire it, unquote. But later on, the penal laws changed all that and turned the Irish natural love of justice into hatred and distrust of law, which in many ways continues to manifest itself to this day. What a turnaround, you know, great faith and belief and adherence to and support for the Brehon Laws. And then the penal laws came along, very different. If you don't know about the penal laws, folks, just Google it. I'm sure most of you do, but not assuming that everybody does. Pinocchio, kind of like Pinocchio Silver Miner, yeah, except for, every time they tell a lie, this sheen, this color, tightens its grip until eventually their head just pops off because they've told too many lies. There's a great and funny law commentary that we had to translate where the wise judge made seemingly false judgments, but proved to the young lawyers he was instructing how to apply logic and compassion, even if it did not seem straightforward. It's mad, isn't it? Wow. All I can say, Caitlin, is that you must have studied in great detail, which, of course, is exactly what I would expect. The Brehons evidently took great pleasure in the study and practice of their profession, and we frequently find the law designated as, quote, pleasant and delightful knowledge, unquote, and such like. There are indications everywhere in the law tracts that they applied themselves diligently to master details and clear up doubtful points. And taking a broad view of the whole subject, as it is presented to us in the books, we cannot avoid concluding that, in the words of Sullivan, quote, the profession of law appears to have been in a singularly advanced stage of organization for so early a period, unquote. In the beginning, every fella or poet was also a Brehon or judge. Quote, for from the time that Amergin of the White Knee, the poet, delivered the first judgment in Erin, it was to the fillas or poets alone that belonged the right of pronouncing judgments until the disputation of the two poets, Ferkirchne and is it Neige, Neidhe, Neige. Fascinating. That's Amergin Glungal, the spiritual figurehead of the Milesians, who came to Ireland to take it from the Tuatha Dé Danann. Featured the Milesians in the Lawrence Gate display during Lugh Festival of Light, and that entire display is available for you to watch at the link that I'm just about to paste. But don't watch it now, because you'll have to interrupt your viewing of the live stream. Watch it after. AJ11 is saying, thank you for this space and all the work you do. Pat Flannery, an amazing Irish historian, does an excellent 11 segment chat on the Brehon Laws. It is available on YouTube. Thank you for that, AJ or 11. You might share the link as a comment, and I'm sure people will be interested in having a look at it afterwards. We still carry that love of justice. I think we do by and large, yeah. Well, Saskia is looking to get in. I'll let her in a moment. It happened during the reign of Conchobar Conor MacNessa, Conchobar Crohor, that these two sages had to argue a point in public, while Crohor himself, or Conchobar if you prefer, was present listening. And their language was so highly technical that neither the king nor the chiefs could understand them. It's like reading any legal contract today. The only person who can understand it is the lawyer who wrote it. Everyone else is going, I think that means, the plaintiff and an agreement is hereby made between, pursuant to Articles 4 and 5b, notwithstanding, aforementioned, quantitative and all that rubbish. So even the king didn't understand. Whereupon the privilege of judicature, nice word, judicature, was taken from the poets and committed to the hands of special judges. And the legal profession, instead of being confined to the poets, was thrown open to all who could qualify. This tradition probably commemorates a reform at some very early time by which legal pronouncements came to be expressed in language much less technical than before, so that all intelligent persons might understand them. Several great lawyers are commemorated in the traditions, among whom it is worthy to remark some women are included. So there we go. The Brehon law that applied to all Ireland was called Coin Law, C-A-I-N, to distinguish it from Uoradus, U-O-R-A-D-U-S, but apparently the D is lenited, so would be more silent. Which was a special local law or custom applying only to the province or district where it was in force. Is that like in modern America, for instance, the difference between state law and federal law? Um, we have local statutes in Ireland, don't we? We have bylaws. We have, you know, uh, laws that are enforced for counties or areas or uh, hmm, local councils, like town councils. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, forgive me because I am not going down that rabbit hole. It was the business of the Brehon to know when to bring a case under the one and when under the other, and to apply the proper rules in each case. Just a bit like when you see, for instance, in modern Ireland, where a case is being brought to the district court, and the district court judge says, I don't have jurisdiction. This is a circuit court matter. In other words, it has to go to the higher court, you know. Social justice and the Irish seem to go together. You'd imagine, Michael, but let's not paint too rosy a picture in that not everybody's the same. There's a few people over here a bit mad, you know. We have them too. Michael Pike is talking about Duolingo and the fact that it gives you some odd statements that you could probably never use. Yeah, that is true. I've seen it. Mine was going on about droughts today in Irish. Barbara, I think, may have started this by saying Duolingo keeps teaching me about eating dead chickens. Shikeen Morif. Well, not to put too fine a point on it, Barbara, but that's the only kind of chicken I'd be eating, or an unborn one in the form of an egg. Wouldn't like to be eating a live chicken. Shikeen Morif, yeah, brilliant, funny, but yeah. Somebody should maybe point this out to Duolingo. Is there anybody who actually eats live chickens? You know, Saskia is ready to come in. Indeed, she is. Well heard, Desiree. Yes. And we are now on to the second section of this chapter, which is called The Seanchas Mór and Other Books of Law. The Brehons had collections of laws in volumes or tracts, all in the Irish language, by which they regulated their judgments, and which those of them who kept law schools expounded to their scholars, each tract treating of one subject or one group of subjects. Many of these have been preserved, and of late years the most important have been published with translations, forming 5 printed volumes, with a 6th volume consisting of a valuable glossary to the preceding 5 by Dr. Atkinson, the editor of the 5th volume. Of the tracts contained in these volumes, the 2 largest and most important are the Seanchas Mór and the Book of Achill. In a popular sense, it may be said that the Seanchas Mór is chiefly concerned with the Irish civil law, and the Book of Achill with what is now known as criminal law and the law relating to personal injuries. Yeah, so like we today have civil courts and we have criminal courts. In the ancient introduction to the Seanchas Mór, who knew that that was like more than 1,000 years old? In the ancient introduction to the Seanchas Mór, the following account is given of its original compilation. In the year 438 AD, a collection of the pagan laws was made at the request of St. Patrick, and the whole Féinechas Code was expounded to him by Dubhtach, the king's chief poet, a zealous Christian convert. Lara, or Larry, King of Ireland, Lara MacNeil, who was king at Tara when Paddy lit the fire on the Hill of Slane. Brendan Bird, you're on fire tonight. Coincidental. I just noticed this, says Northman, 250th episode. Oh, yeah, actually. I mean, I said 2.5 centuries, 250. 250th. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's aim for the 500th now and onwards and upwards. Now, says Barbara, I'm going to be terrified to order chicken in Ireland if it doesn't specify dead chicken. Is the law not to kill swans written in the Brehon Law? Now, that I don't know. I think it was Amergin who first, was it? No. It's Children of Lear, isn't it? What saint did they meet at the end of Children of Lear? Was it Columkill or was it? There's Coda now. Somebody will know that. It's in there somewhere. Fascinating stuff there from Caitlin. Let you read that. And listen to Coda while you're reading it. Laira, King of Ireland, appointed a committee of 9 persons to revise them, viz. 3 kings, Laira himself, Cork, C-O-R-C, King of Munster, Cork, that's where I was yesterday, this morning actually, and Dara, King of Ulster. 3 ecclesiastics, Patrick, Benin, and Carnick, and 3 poets and antiquarians, Rossa, Dovtach, and Fergus. Of course, when he says antiquarians, he's talking about people who are well versed in the Shanachas or the Dinchianachas. There's the Madras, a silver miner. Yes, indeed, one of the Madras. Gawadi. Was it King Lear himself who established that law after witnessing? Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Pups are noisy today. Amadeus is loving it, said Desiree. I said before you arrived that, you were kind of missing it, and I knew that would be the case. But look, they've been making loads of noise since you did arrive. So it's like they know that you're here. These 9 produced at the end of 3 years a revised code, which was called Shanachas Móra, also called Coin Patrick or Patrick's Law. This account, with the names of the, quote, 9 props of the Shanachas Mór, unquote, as they are designated, is also given briefly in Cormac's glossary, as well as in the Book of the Dun Cow, in the Tripart Life. The introduction to the Shanachas Mór goes on to say, quote, what did not clash with the word of God in the written law and in the New Testament, and with the consciences, not that big a word, Anthony, really, the consciences of the believers, was confirmed in the laws of the Brehons by Patrick and by the ecclesiastics and the chieftains of Erin, i.e. by the committee of 9. And this is the Shanachas Mór, unquote. So when we see special commissions of investigation or government committees being formed today, that's an old habit too, Brendan is asking, could you serve an apprenticeship to become a Brehon, or did you just need to be a pillar of society? Well, I think you were saying earlier that some aspects of it were hereditary, but it seems that at a certain point, you just, you just, to become a Brehon, a person had to go through a regular, well-defined course of study and training. It doesn't say whether they had to be, a member of the upper class or whatever, Though there are historical difficulties in this account, there seems no good reason to doubt that there was some such revision. Of course, anything that's credited to St. Patrick, you always have to kind of just take a little pinch of salt with that, Yeah, I think there was something about not harming a swan after what had happened to. It's probably a quick Google will probably do it. Irish law banning harm of swans. Okay, that's giving me the Irish statute book. Okay. It's giving me mostly in modern. Maybe somebody has the time to maybe do a little bit of a slightly deeper Google dive and finding out exactly what the origin of that is. Brendan, not just nominating you. Actually, I am. No, who was it that asked about the swans? Was it Brendan? Apologies if it wasn't. Was it Marcus? Yes, it was Marcus. Apologies, it wasn't Brendan at all. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Apologies. The code produced by the committee contained no new laws. It was merely a digest of those already in use, with the addition of the scriptural and canon laws, of course. The statement in the old introduction is that before St. Patrick's time, the law of nature prevailed, i.e., the ancient pagan law as expounded by Dovthach to Patrick. After his time, the law of nature and the law of the letter, this latter, the law of the letter, being the patriarchal law, the Old Testament, and the New Testament. But the law of the letter evidently included the numerous canonical rules laid down by Patrick and his successors, which adjusted the relations of the church to the lay community, all of which were new. Well, what a surprise. The commentator of the Seanchas Mór adds that, quote, the over-severity of the law was taken from it, namely the old law of retaliation, an eye for an eye, etc., which existed in the Mosaic law, Leviticus, etc., and in the Irish law before Patrick's time, all which was expunged and the milder law of compensation substituted. But it is probable that this last reform had been gradually coming into use and was formally confirmed in the Seanchas Mór. Wow. So less stabbing people's eyes out as a punishment for breaking a law, and more just pay compensation, you know. It'd be interesting to see now if anybody's able to find. Marcus is looking into Google now. Northman, I will mention you may say on remote sensing techniques in archaeology and will describe your search for sites using satellites. Is it a problem for you? No, not a problem for me. Yeah, just so long as you say the right things. So long as you say, Anthony, you know, well, I found a lot of stuff just by looking. That's it. Yeah, but maybe run it past me in an email, you know. But it should be fine. And some of it's on the website, by the way. Some of it's in my Drone Henge book. Debbie Sheehy said the children used to come and sing to both the Tua, the Danann, and the new invaders, the Gaels, during their first 300 years before they had to fly further afield for the next 600. Excuse me. The compensation included slaves. Oh God, we're back to that discussion. And I'm not saying criticizing you, Caitlin's like, wow, slaves, and some of those were English people's children who they sold into slavery into Ireland. Wow. Lily, you're not wrong, because some things never change. There may not be rules regarding who could study, but surely only the rich would have the time. I know. I just got lucky with the timing. I just checked as soon as the imagery from the drought was first appeared on Google Earth and then on Apple Maps. I'm not sure what the total is. It's more than 150. It might be as much as 300. I reported, and I don't know how many of them actually ended up being recognized as monuments, but it's probably around the 200 mark. Sold them like laptops, says Marcus. Yes, indeed. Apparently, Lexi is in the house. Well, certainly Barbara Murphy is saying hi to Lexi. And if Barbara's saying, oh, there she is. Hello there, Lexi. I say if Barbara is saying hello to Lexi, then Lexi's in the house. Because Barbara and Lexi, you know, they're never too far apart, you know. Brilliant. The very book left by St. Patrick and the others has been long lost. Successive copies were made from time to time, with commentaries and explanations appended till the manuscripts we now possess were produced. The existing manuscript copies of the Seanchas Mór consist of 1. The original text written in a large hand with wide spaces between the lines, 2. An introduction to the text, and 3. Commentaries on the text in a smaller hand. Look at the graphic for today's episode and you'll see an example. 4. Glosses or explanations on words and phrases of the text in a hand still smaller, commentaries and glosses commonly written in the spaces between the lines of the text. Of these, the text, as might be expected, is the most ancient. The language is extremely archaic, indicating a very remote antiquity, though probably not the very language left by the revising committee, but a modified version of a later time. But when he says extremely archaic, I still don't know. Can somebody tell me what he means? Does he mean 700 AD? Does he mean 200 AD? Does he mean BC? I don't know. Yes, I know, Alexei. No, Barbara. No, Barbara and I are a team. Find one, and the other. Well, I can just guess the rest of the end of the sentence. The other's not far away. The Seanachas Mór is referred to as a well-known work in Cormac's glossary, written at the end of the 9th or the beginning of the 10th century. And many of its law terms had then become obsolete and are explained in the glossary. Right, so that gives us some indication. At the end of the 9th century, the end of the 800s, a lot of the terms of the Seanachas Mór had become obsolete. As showing the substantial identity of the work referred to in this glossary with the present existing copy of the Seanachas Mór, it may be mentioned that most of the cases, passages, and terms cited in the glossary are found in the lately printed text. Another law extract, the Brehon Laws, the laws of the privileged classes, from Breh, judgment, plural, Breha, and Nemed, a person of the higher or chieftain classes, Nemedians, anyone? Is repeatedly referred to and quoted in the same old glossary. Derek Hollingsworth, Tá Brón Ort Gowill to Janach, no Brón Zone, Derek, no, don't worry. Thought I'd tune in for something interesting and positive in these trying times. They can be trying for me too, actually. And yeah. It's nice to do something positive, isn't it? And not to get caught up in all the darkness and the weariness and the fighting. The introduction comes next in point of antiquity, and the commentaries and glosses are the least ancient of all. Well, I suppose that makes sense. If you're glossing or commenting on a work, the glossing or the commentary is going to be later, but maybe not. Introduction, commentaries, and glosses, such as we have them, were written or copied by different learned lawyers at various times, from the beginning of the 14th down to the 16th century, the language being often much older than the writing. The manuscript copies of the Book of Achill and of some other law tracts resemble those of the Seanachas Mór, the original texts being accompanied by introduction, commentaries, and glosses. In the printed volumes, all these are translated, and the different sizes of the penmanship are marked by different sizes of type, both in the Irish and in the translation. It is probable that in very ancient times all laws were in verse, which is interesting because it's a good way to help you remember it, is to versify it, to have it as a rhyming verse, easier to, even darkness must pass. Watching that series at the moment. Is it on Netflix? I think I'm watching it with my wife. The one that's based on that book that I've never read, but it seems to be a millions of copies selling worldwide bestseller. Is it called All the Light We Cannot See? Is that what it's called? I think it is. There's a series based on that book, and enjoying it so far. And of course, without spoiling it for you, it's set in the Second World War and Nazi Germany and all that stuff. Well, it's in France. Saint-Malo. Saint-Malo is familiar to me because our good friend Eric Duhan, who's originally from Ireland but who's living in France, he's an artist, is on Mythical Ireland Creatives. And Eric either does now live in Saint-Malo or did live in Saint-Malo. Is it Malo? M-A-L-O? Saint-Malo? Which is where this series or the book is set. Anyway, that was a very large rabbit hole. Okay, so I'll just repeat that previous sentence, which is a short one. It is probable that in very ancient times all laws were in verse. This was evidently the case with the original Seanachas Mór, for we are told by the commentators that at the compilation, quote, Dovthach put a thread of poetry round it for Patrick, unquote. And we know that the archaic pagan code expounded by Dovthach was itself in verse. The old form has to some extent survived in the law tracts, for certain portions of the existing version of the Seanachas Mór are in verse. The laws were written in the oldest dialect of the Irish language, called Béarla Féini, which even at the time was so difficult that persons about to become Brehons had to be specially instructed in it. Is that like a version of legalese? I'm joking, of course, but a language that nobody understands. Even the authors of the commentaries and glosses who wrote hundreds of years ago and were themselves learned Brehons were often quite at fault in their attempts to explain the archaic text. And their words show that they were fully conscious of the difficulty. It will then be readily understood. That makes me feel a bit better because I've mispronounced words and said made mistakes and claims about things during live streams. I suddenly feel better. It's like, here are guys, and mostly men, in fairness, reading older works and having difficulty with the words and the language. Oh, really? Even Darkness Must Pass is from Tolkien. However, makes sense as Tolkien served at the Somme. Well, wasn't he lucky to get out of there? Even darkness must pass and a new day will come. The sun will shine and shine out the clearer. J.R.R. Tolkien. What is that from? Lord of the Rings? Brilliant. It will then be readily understood that the task of translating these laws was a very difficult one, rendered all the more so by the number of technical terms and phrases, many of which are to this day obscure, as well as by the peculiar style, which is very elliptical and abrupt, often incomplete sentences, or mere catchwords of rules not written down in full, but held in memory by the experts of the time. Wow. If you don't write anything down, you become more valuable, don't you? Clearer, yes, okay, fair enough. I'm American. I mispronounce everything. Yes, or there are two Ronnies, the Department of Piss Pronunciation. Yes. We totally misunderestimated you, Caitlin. Yes. Another circumstance that greatly adds to the difficulty of deciphering these manuscripts is the confused way in which the commentaries are written in, mainly with the object of economizing the expense of vellum. Well, of course. So I have been reading lately the collected letters of Flann O'Brien. Flann O'Brien was an Irish writer and journalist. That was a pen name. His real name was Brian O'Nolan or Brian O'Nolan or Brian O'Nualan. And he also wrote Cruiskeen Lawn, which was a column in the Irish Times in the 40s and 50s, under the pen name Miles Nagopaline. And when he corresponded with his friends during what we would call the emergency years, Ireland being a neutral country was not directly involved in the Second World War, but to economize on paper, his friend would send him a letter, and Flann O'Brien would answer underneath where the friend had typed, and they would reuse the same sheet several times. There you go. Burr Whelan, what is that quote from? A one-eyed man is king in a village full of blind people. Yeah. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Is that Heraclitus, is it? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I'm pretty sure that's in the Segish Companion. It's in something that I've written. Give me a second. Now this is a rabbit hole. So let's not just take bets on when the first rabbit hole has gone down into, but the third and the fourth and the fifth. Let me just see. Yeah, here we go. The land of the blind. The one-eyed man is king. There you go. Yeah, I knew I'd used that, but I'm not sure of the origin of it. Quick Google search should. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. No, we don't want the meaning, Google. We want the origin. Erasmus. Our first saying comes to us from Erasmus in his collection of proverbs published in 1500 called Adagia. It appears there in its Latin form. In regione cecorum rex est loscos. But is that the real origin of it? Yeah, I could go way down that rabbit hole, and I'm just saying that it's again too big and too deep, so I'm not going to bother. Somebody will give us some information. Not Minoan, says Lily. I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure. No, Heraclitus. Do you know what? I was confusing because this is also in the Segish Companion volume. Heraclitus was the one who said, um, "No, no man." I think he said "man." Forgive me again if I'm not being sexist. I think I'm quoting him. No man ever returns to the same river twice, for he is not the same man, and it is not the same river. In other words, even if it's just 5 minutes ago, the river has changed, and you've changed, you've grown, and all the rest. Hitler did bomb Belfast, says Irish Technical Thinker. Yes, and do you know that a fire engine from Drogheda, a Merryweather fire engine, went to Belfast during the Blitz to help put out some of those fires? Reminds me of Cuchulainn and his battle fury when he basically became one-eyed. Yeah. Is anybody able to give us now? I mean, yeah. Does anybody, not necessarily through a Google search, does anybody know the origin of that? Erasmus. Is it Erasmus, or is it earlier, or is it in the land of the blind? The one-eyed man is king. I found rabbit hole number 5 before I continue. Yes, this is another rabbit hole. I found in Virgil's Aeneid a quote that I think will be used in the title page of the Return to Segish companion volume, because it's very apt. Not exactly linked with the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, is it? I don't really think. Everyone just needs to find their place in the world, is the way I take that, says Becca. Which one, Becca? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Yes, probably that one, not the no man can visit the same or step into the same river twice. So this from the Aeneid. By the way, it just depends on which translation. Remember, this is always helpful to look at if you're reading something that's old, like an Irish text. And we've had Whitley Stokes and R.A.S. McAllister, and we've had much more modern scholars like T.F. O'Rahilly and Brunches McConnell and Kim McCone, etc., etc., etc. This one, listen to this, right? Because if you've read Return to Segish and you know that there's a psychological imperative there, which is going down into the unconscious and going down and having your dark night of the soul and coming back from that, you'll know exactly why this resonates so strongly. But anyway, in the Latin, facilis descensus averno noctes atque dias patet atri janua ditis. Now I could be mispronouncing some of the Latin words because I didn't formally study Latin. Sed revocare gradum or gradum, is it gradum superasque evadera ad auras hoc opus hic labor est. And in English, wait till you hear this. The gates of hell are open night and day. Smooth the descent and easy is the way. But to return and view the cheerful skies, in this the task and mighty labour lies. That's from Book 6 of Virgil's Aeneid. The gates of hell are open night and day. Smooth the descent and easy is the way. But to return and view the cheerful skies, in this the task and mighty labour lies. And that sounds a little bit like, is it, I'm not sure if it's Matthew's Gospel that quotes, I think it quotes Jesus as saying, wide is the road and broad is the gate that leads to destruction. But narrow is the way and straight is the gate that leads to salvation. Now, you see, even your name, tips for pronouncing Latin, from what I remember, there is no soft C and V is W. Oh, wow. Brilliant. Morrigan, Morrigu. Yes, indeed. Wow, okay. No soft C and V is W. In the street of the blind, the one-eyed man is the guiding light, from Genesis. Not Phil Collins. Not that Genesis. I presume you mean the first book of the Bible. Oh, think twice. It's just another day for you. You and me in paradise. Do, 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 do. But that exact quote seems to be from Erasmus, says Caitlin. Okay, I'm just checking. And Matthew 15:14. Wow. Which is, let them alone, they be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. Or the drunk leading the drunk, as is often the case in Ireland. Both shall fall into the ditch. Yes, indeed. Wow, what a rabbit hole. Okay, a tea is here, by the way. Tea's all around. Make mine a peppermint. Anybody having cappuccino? You'll be having cappuccino with the white-topped Capuchin monks. See what I did there? Where am I? The lines and phrases generally follow each other downwards, but sometimes upwards. We're talking about the Brehon Laws. And often a part of a line belongs to one sentence, while the other part has to be picked up after some time for another sentence lower down. This is a bit weird. You're beginning to wonder, was the writer on some sort of narcotics? And the whole abounds in contradictions. The explanatory note under figure 68 will give some idea of all this. The two great Irish scholars, John, and O'Curry, Eugene, who translated the laws included in the 5 printed volumes, were able to do so only after a lifelong study. See what I said earlier on? You could dedicate 30 years of, or what did I say? Did I say something like that? You could dedicate 2 or 3 decades or 20 years of something like that of your life. Wow. And in numerous instances were, to the last, not quite sure of the meaning. As they had to retain the legal terms and the elliptical style, even the translation is hard enough to understand and is often unintelligible. Why did they write them down in the first place, you would ask? My penchant for a little bit of the Craither is well known, Northman. And yes, I haven't actually tried much Scotch whiskey. So almost all of the whiskies I've ever tasted have been Irish. I'm quite partial to Tullamore Dew. I like the Bushmills Black Label, and I'm very fond of Redbreast. And of course, the higher the number, the better. Hope that sorts it out. My username is just a pseudonym. I want to write a story under. So don't worry, the pronunciation too hard. I'm glad I dropped into this stream because I'm going to draw from it for world building. Yeah, do you know what? I mean, there's so much to inspire, I hope, in all of this stuff. I mean, this is episode 250. It's remarkable. And it feels like in some ways we've only scratched the surface, amazing stuff. But yes, I'm glad to hear that it's providing inspiration, Burwheelan is saying, don't encourage him, lol. Yes, indeed, don't encourage me to drink whiskey or tell dad jokes. I arrived early to the restaurant, and the manager said, do you mind waiting a bit? I said, no. Good, he said, we'll take these drinks to table 9. This translation is, moreover, imperfect for another reason. They did not live to revise it. How the case stands will be understood from the following extract from the last report of the Brehon Law Commissioners. The last report, 1902, of the Brehon Law Commissioners. Quote, the transcripts, made in the first instance by O'Donovan and O'Curry, occupied 17 volumes and employed those engaged on them for several years. A preliminary translation of almost all the manuscript tracts with the commissioners selected for publication was made either by O'Donovan or by Professor O'Curry. By Dr. O'Donovan or by Professor O'Curry. But unhappily, these scholars did not live to complete and revise their translations, which were in fact, in a great degree, provisional only. Imperfections and errors being unavoidable in a first attempt to accomplish what had been regarded by many previous experts as a hopeless task, unquote. In criticising the work of these eminent men, therefore, scholars will do well to deal with their imperfections and errors tenderly and reverently. Why the laws were so often written in this disjointed elliptical style admits of a natural explanation, which may be given in the words of Dr. Atkinson in his short preface to the 6th volume of the Laws. Quote, the conclusion has been forced upon me by the prolonged study of these documents that there was a very definite teaching of an oral kind, of which the present documents only give us these notes. Give us their notes, based upon old traditions of the time when the present extant manuscripts were committed to writing, unquote. So that the existing texts of the Seanachas Mór and other law tracts are in great part what would now be called headings or notes of lectures, a description which anyone who examines them carefully will recognise as correct. And we'll finish at the end of that section. Caitlin Moon says, I couldn't get a reservation at the library. They were completely booked. No, it's hilarious. No, it is. It's funny. I'm just pretending not to find it funny. I put my car in reverse. I thought, this brings me back. You all laughed when I said I wanted to become a comedian. None of you are laughing now. I drew inspiration from your writing, Anthony. I entered into a video award competition last week and had to a short horror film. Me and my partner wrote and directed, and the prize is 5,000. Hopefully we win. Brilliant. Fingers crossed. And yes, if you win, let us know all about it. Brilliant and well done, and best of luck for that. Brilliant stuff. This has been a fun and funny episode. Thank you again, Raleigh, NC, North Carolina. Susan Mullen Lacerna. I don't know if I said hello to you earlier. I don't think I did, Susan. Good to see you there. Thanks for joining us. Winners announced on the 26th of November. Well, come here, listen, let us know how you get on. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter is laughing. Probably the only one. And I think it's a sympathy laugh. What's the difference between a well-dressed man on a bike and a poorly dressed man on a unicycle? Attire. How would you protect yourself if attacked by a group of manic clowns? Go for the juggler. I found the reference, says Debbie Sheehy, for when the ruling was made by law that no swan could be harmed in Ireland. It's from Lady Gregory's 1904 book, Gods and Fighting Men, on the fate of the children of Lear. After the children spent the first 300 years of their stepmother's curse as swans on Loch Derivara, where they sang to both their clan, the Tuatha Danann, and the new invaders, the Milesian Gaels, they had to fly far afield for the next 300 years to the Straits of Moyle, and that is when the Gaels made the ruling by law that no swan was to be killed. Yeah, the Gaels. That's the Milesians, and I think it was Amergin. That no swan was to be killed from that day out. Whatever chance might be of killing one of the children all through Ireland. Somebody had mentioned that earlier in a comment that I hadn't read out, I don't think. Somebody else had mentioned that about after the 300 years that they had don't know who it was, and apologies to whoever it was. Yeah, I see just stuff, and sometimes, and it's brilliant to see it. Like, do you know, it's great. Like, it's great to see all the stuff, all the commentary, and all the interactions. It's wonderful. It's just sometimes I can't keep up with it, especially when you're trying to concentrate on that and answer questions and then redo the reading. Like, Caitlin, was it Caitlin, Brandon? I'm not sure. Yeah. I look into it, but I'm pretty sure that's not an actual law. Yeah, I think that's just a mythological thing. But who knows? Becca was glad to be able to catch the end of the live. It was a pleasure as always. Yeah, don't forget that the whole thing is available as soon as we finish. It's available to rewatch, and Desiree in particular needs to rewatch it because I make an apology to her and anyone else who thought the Moncon conversation was going to be live streamed, which was an easy mistake for people to make because I didn't explain it properly. Marcus says no, swans were forever protected. Because Morrigan had asked, so does that mean after they turned back, it was okay to kill swans again? Yeah, no, I think, as Marcus says, but yeah, I think Caitlin might be right. It's not an actual law. It's good to listen to, and you can relax a bit as it's not too serious. Red face, red heart shape. Yeah, because we're all non-specialists. I'm not an academic scholar. I'm just somebody who's interested in all this stuff, and I'm learning in much the same way as all of you are learning. Brendan says, "A fantastic night. My faith in the Brehon Laws has been restored." Brilliant stuff, Brendan, and more. Because what did we read tonight? We read. Let me just have a quick squiz, as we say in Drogheda. A quick look. We read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, 10 pages, maybe 10 or 11 pages. We read 2 sections of that chapter. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's another 6 pages of that chapter left. But then the next chapter is laws relating to land. And I think the chapter after that is also related to laws. Yeah, the administration of justice. So we've tons. We are, as of this moment, since we began, this is the 12th episode of reading Weston's PW. I keep saying Weston. Patrick Weston Joyce, PW Joyce's. We've only read that much. We've only read that bit, and we still have that bit. So what is that? Is that 1/3? Maybe a little bit more? Actually, that's page 177, and the book finishes at 631. 631, 177. 177 by 3 is 531. So no, we are not. Maybe another episode will be it. Don't knock the camera, Anthony. Do everybody a favor, and nobody needs to see me, do they? They just need to hear me, you see, because it's like they're just here for the reading. They're not here for the so if we read another 30 pages, we'd be a third of the way in. So that's another 2 or 3 episodes, Still, my favorite Brehon law, says Northman, is the fact that a woman can get a divorce if a man is too fat for sex. You're more educated than most, as your books are ridiculously good for a self-proclaimed non-expert. You're an expert to me, Anthony, says Marcus. I know, but I'm conscious of it. I'm very conscious of it, that I'm not really. And in fact, I'm kind of aware of the fact that there are people out there who've been critical of some of the things I've said and written, and that's kind of fair enough, because I'm not a scholar, and I have probably written a couple of things that are a little bit, shall we say, theoretical and all the rest. But the important thing is I'm usually, open enough to say this is where I'm speculating. Anyway, Thanks, Anto, says T. Well, if you probably did tell us your full name at some point, but T is like, I mean, I should just call myself A. Thank you, I think. A fantastic evening. Thank you, kind sir. That's Lily. I hope you're in good form, Lily, and managing the pain. And McCallum, yes, indeed, yet another wonderful episode. Thank you so much, Ashley. Good night, all. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'm glad everybody arrived on time, as in, I'm glad I didn't confuse things by, last week I started at 9 p.m. Because I thought that would suit the people in the States and Canada who hadn't changed their clocks. And it turns out I just put everything out by 2 hours. So apologies for that. And don't forget, one more reminder. I'm at, oh yes, you did tell us, T, that you're Anthony, but I go by Tony. Yeah, I don't go by Tony. I like Anthony, and I especially don't like Anto. Actually, it's a version of my name that is popular in Ireland, particularly in Dublin, and I do not like it. I just never warmed to it. But anyway, you can call me anything. Just don't call me early in the morning. I've been in and out today. I'm sure busy with students who have stayed late, but it pays the bills. I'll catch up later. Hugs, everyone. Well, that's fine, Lexi. Of course, you have to pay the bills and earn money. That's just a fact of life. Deirdre is at Southie. Very enjoyable. Thank you, Deirdre. I'm not sure if I said hello to you, or if I've seen you before. Thank you for dropping in. Great to see you, and please come back for the next one. Full Irish, Gary. Up the dubs. Be safe, all. Thanks, Anto. Thanks, Tonto. Yeah, you're all right. You're all right. Garage. Yes, indeed. Well, anyway, thank you. Kyle M. Tony. What have I started? Oh. I could insist that everybody calls me Sir Anthony, and then you'll all run for the hills. Tom King says, take care, friends of the two. Take care out there until next time. And I'm just going to put that on display for a moment while I say goodbye and just read the last few comments. Gialat to us says, Marcus, thanks, Marcus, and for everything. Yes, €15 plus postage and packaging and handling, or whatever you want to call it. MythicalIreland.com is the website where you get your calendar, and it's got lots of nice photographs in it. Loch Crew in the snow, Newgrange under the triple conjunction of Moon, Venus, and Jupiter. The Hag's Chair at Cairntee at Loch Crew, Slieve Macalia. Aurora Borealis over Newgrange, Northern Lights over Newgrange. Some display last night, and Tommy McDermott, a local photographer, got a great photo at Sheed and Broga last night. The Cat Stone, or Island of Mirror in the Stone of Divisions at Ishnach. Cairn F at Carrow Keel. The Gaelic Chieftain statue near Curlew Pass, near Boyle in County Roscommon. Mound B, or the Dogda's Mound, in a shroud of mist, the Feth Fiada, on an early morning drone flight along the River Boyne. Full moon setting into Sheed and Broga or Newgrange. And a bite out of the sun, a partial solar eclipse. Eclipses seem to be a big thing in ancient astronomical study and also in mythology. The Mill Mount, under whose great mound Amergin of the Milesians, who we talked about tonight, is supposed to be buried, and also the wife of the Gobon, or the Gobon Sayer. And December's image is a top-down view of Sheed and Broga or Newgrange. And there is a bonus image on the first page, which is a Douth sycamore tree and curbstones lit up at night under the stars. Anyway, don't forget to get your copy, and we'll post those anywhere. They all around the world. Lexi says, mine should be here soon. I'm excited for a drive. So I'm not looking at the screen as you show them. Oh, of course, because that would be a spoiler, and apologies for spoiling it for anyone. Rex, you have a great week as well. Thanks for popping in. Ciao for the concern. Find a little dribble helps with the pain. It should be tipple, but the amount of painkillers I'm on can make me dribble. Yeah, fair enough, understandable, but be well. Yes, good advice to Tom. Don't keep the fire burning too late. There's always tomorrow. Adrian O'Beglin, thanks, Anthony. Great episode. Kyle is saying, or T is saying goodbye to Kyle. Thanks, Adrian. AJR11 thinks the calendar is lovely. Yay! Good stuff. Spread the word. Thank you, Desiree. You'll watch from the beginning now as soon as we stop. I was only messing with the Anto, says T. That's okay. You're forgiven. It's all right. Don't worry. I won't. I won't. I'll just take a note. Just take a note. No, I'm joking. Mariana, good night, good afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us. Okay, I think that's everybody. All that remains for me to say at this point is, of course, come back next week for the next live stream. In the meantime, Ichawa, Kulasov, Slán go Fóil, and most importantly, Tóga Bugé, which means take it easy. Have a fabulous week.